Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadando suchedoye olahudi samyao sampudosye. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa, ai qian wan jue nan zao yu. 我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture today. It is Sunday, October 24th. Here in Queensland, Australia, and I'm delighted to be with you for the Flower Garland Sutra, the Avatamsaka Sutra's lecture on the 10 stages chapter. And it's a little convoluted how we got to where we are. We're back on the first stage after finishing all 10. We are engaged in a project called Sutras as Literature. We're going over the text one more time to listen to it in a new way, in a different way. And as we've been exploring this, turns out I'm basically explaining it again. It's another sutra lecture, but we're taking bigger bites. We're listening to the text in English as it sounds when you read it. That's the idea. So if that's what you bargained for, welcome. You are most welcome to be here looking into it with us. My name is Hung Shi, and it's now Saturday, October 23rd in California, where the rain is falling. There are said to be rivers of precipitation, big rainfall coming to Northern California. Everybody is buying sandbags. Everybody is, the store owner in Santa Rosa, California has bamboo bags that they stuff with straw that are used to keep the waters. They're talking about 4 inches of rain maybe falling in parts of California. And here in Queensland, we've got 32 degrees Celsius, 91 degrees. We broke 90 for the first time since last summer. So everybody is getting used to it. We have one of the cockatoos whose name is Dexter. He's a cockatoo whose wing is permanently outstretched, his left wing, like that. And yet he doesn't impede his flying, but he's a remarkable looking bird because he shows up and he's just like that. So he's Dexter. And Dexter came today for his breakfast, and he had his beak open. Beak breathing, cockatoo, because it's so hot. And so we're all adjusting to the new weathers. Northern California is getting water for the first time, but they're getting too much at once. We're hoping that the reservoirs in Northern California, which are down to a level nobody's ever seen before. There are cities in California depending entirely on water deliveries. Nature isn't bringing it to us, so the 4-wheeled or the 8-wheeled trucks, the water trucks, are bringing water in. That's not a situation we want. So we hope the reservoirs will hold the water that's coming out of the sky, finally, at last. So that's our situation, and perfect time to be looking into the Flower Garland Sutra, by golly. What we want to do is hope that by engaging traditional power sources, which is the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and the Dharma protectors who gather whenever the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are invoked, we hope that by bringing those energy sources forward, celebrating them, respecting them, honoring them, asking for their compassion and their kindness, we hope that by doing that, we will be able to put proper, regular, healthy, wholesome energies into the universe, that things will balance, things will find their natural, traditional harmonies, that whatever anthropocentric, they say, human-caused imbalances will find their proper balance. Listening to, we've been through, mind you, we haven't started our invocation yet, but I'm kind of catching us up, kind of a check-in to see how we're doing. As we focus on our sutra, we want to also make the timeless principles that we gather from the sutra correspond to the current realities, to what's actually happening here on the ground, down under and up over, both in Australia and also up in the Northern Hemisphere. So one of the things that is happening is somehow this is the time for large gatherings of spiritual people. We just finished the 8th Parliament of World's Religions. This is the big tent for religious gatherings. United Religions Initiative, URI, has, in terms of daily enduring interfaith cooperation, participation, URI has eclipsed the Parliament, but the Parliament is the big one that brings more religions, more people together for a brief time. Well, that happened last weekend, and it was virtual, mind you, but there were 550 some programs that took place virtually. I was part of one of them, called Grassroots Interfaith, Looking Backwards, Looking Forwards. And there were 6,000 people registered, they said, and to do so much internet stuff actually wasn't entirely successful. There were lots of glitches when you try to bring that many people together online who've never actually used Zoom before, and all being sponsored by one tech firm, which did a remarkable job, given everything. So that was quite an event. We got to hear from Dr. Jane Goodall. Dr. Jane Goodall, everybody's favorite chimpanzee specialist, Dr. Goodall said, there are two issues facing humanity now that we need to pay attention to, or else. And this is somebody who knows. She knows. She can be considered an expert in human nature interface. What did she say? She said, number one is anthropogenic climate change. The word that kept coming up was Anthropocene. Do you know that we're living in the Anthropocene? That's an age. The other is the Pleistocene and the, what are some of the other ones? Ages of Earth, right? When Earth is going through large changes. So how healthy is our planet? That's the question to ask. We are now in what's called the Anthropocene, which is the advent of humanity and the effect that one species, our human species, has had on everything else. Now, the climate, the planet itself, and its health or state of disease. Humans haven't done so well, but we are certainly powerful in our impact. So in the Anthropocene, Jane Goodall says, climate change will bring about reactions in humanity that are irrevocable, can't be changed, can't turn them back. So rising sea levels, for example, desertification, the turning into desert of places like Australia is desertifying at a rapid rate. Water is just coming up out of the ground, evaporating, leaving salt behind. That's number one. But her second one, I thought, was really powerful. And she said that it's loss of biodiversity. And so you have to say it that way in English. I don't know in Chinese how we translate that, or Vietnamese how we translate that. But it's that when we break it down, what is loss of biodiversity? What it means is we're killing the animals. We're killing the insects. We're killing the birds. We're killing the fish. So creatures that walk on land, that fly in the air, that swim in the earth, swim in the water, and inhabit in between the birds, the animals, the fish, the insects, we are killing them off. And this, I think, is new. This is genuinely new awareness, and this is where Buddhism can really contribute, is the idea of interconnection, the idea that we're all connected. And loss of one piece is loss for everyone. Loss of for example, the number of koalas. Sam, are you up online? How many koalas are left in the wild? Can you research that quickly? Who's got Google open? What's the number of koalas left? There's a shockingly, have you followed that one? There's when you hear the number, it's like, no way. Because there's, beyond kangaroos, the iconic Australian species is the koala. They only exist there. So let's say 34,000 koalas left in the wild. That's it. And other than that, they're in zoos. They're in, nature parks. And here in the Gold Coast, we're called the hinterland here, which is just the interface between urban and nature. And there are electronic signs on the roads, particularly now because it's warm and males and females are trying to find each other. There are signs that say, slow, drive slowly, koalas. Meaning, if you are zooming down a 2-lane blacktop and you see a koala crossing the road, they move so slowly. They move very slowly. Currumbin Wildlife Hospital, which is our big local hospital, well-funded and well-staffed, takes in some 1,000 animals a month, some scary number, because once they're gone, they're gone. And the bushfires that preceded the COVID-19 pandemic, the figures that people were talking about, they said 1 billion animals lost their lives. And you go, wait, that can't be. A billion? Yes. So anyway, just to say, Jane Goodall's point was, biodiversity loss is our loss. One particular species of insect, honeybees, are responsible for some shocking number, like 60% of the food we eat is pollinated by honeybees. This is especially critical in the Great Central Valley of the great state of California. It's called America's Salad Bowl. So a lot of the lettuce and almonds and Brussels sprouts and peppers and all the goodies that we count on to be in the grocery store when we go to buy come from the Central Valley, and they depend entirely on honeybees to pick up pollen from this blossom, fly over there to that blossom, and pollinate it. And without them, the food crops collapse. Honeybees are in what's called a collapse currently. So that was the point. Parliament of World Religions invited Jane Goodall, Dr. Goodall, I was listening to her talk with a Buddhist ear, and she was speaking Dharma. The principles she was speaking came right out of Buddhist wisdom about interconnection and how we totally live only because we're all here together. And if you pull out one group, the rest is in free fall. So anyway, that's the wisdom. This is a time of religious gatherings. Last night I was part of a compassion pod sponsored by Service Space, and had 100 plus 130, 140 people who spent the last 21 days looking into the principle of compassion. And the guest speakers on the last day were Jerry White, who's a Nobel Prize winner for his work with landmines, getting rid of landmines. He brought Lady Diana, the late princess, together on his landmine research, getting rid of landmines, and people from around the planet. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his work. He was the speaker. And the second speaker was Bishop William Swing, the founder of United Religions. So I got a chance to listen to Bishop Swing last night speak and tell a story about him, which I'll share with us later on as we look into the Flower Garland Sutra. So that's where we are. This is a time as we head towards summer, and we're in spring, heading to summer in Australia. Some people would say summer's here. We're in autumn, heading to winter in Northern California. This is a time when people come together in large groups to talk about big issues. How do we get along, especially as when we're in our religious identity? When people say, yes, I am sympathetic to Buddhism, I think if I'm not anything, I'm spiritual, not religious, but if I had to have one, the principles of Buddhism seem the most familiar to me. When they say that, of the people who say things like that, and you hear that a lot more, when individuals in that group want to go deeper, they will come to this sutra, the Flower Garland Sutra, to find out, what did the Buddha say? If they speak English, they will want to know how we're translating the Buddha's voice and decoding his message in English here in the Flower Garland Sutra. Let us begin. Let us look into what that might be. We're going to come back to page 52 when we're back. Did we lose? Oops. That shouldn't happen. A little bit of housekeeping here in the Buddha Hall. Let me try it's hot. I wonder if the heat has something to do with it. I have two HDMIs and I've switched them. Now it took out, let's see here. Hey, can you restart the projector? What? Yeah, I wonder what happened. Okay, so all together now, we're back. Zoom didn't go anywhere, that's good. Hold up. Getting all our ducks lined up here. Close that one. Okay, we lost our, we do have 5 friends here in the Buddha Hall together with me, which is a delight. Crease that one. Okay, this is what we're going to be chanting. Cross your fingers. Is it working? Okay, hold up. All righty. We're going to do our invocation now to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. My camera. Did the camera go away? Uh-huh. I believe this is overheating. Yeah. Did that work? Are we back? Let's see. Camera's back. Okay. Good. I'm sharing. All right. Here we go. That one didn't turn on. Okay. Here we go. We're going to invoke spiritual presence, ask the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to join us, to bless us with their presence, and also the Dharma protectors. Back to page 52, and take a look when we get there. What have we got? 38. Okay, sliding on down, trying to avoid the scrolling phenomenon. It tends to make you seasick. Okay. I'm aware that if we were face-to-face, I would be focusing in on who's here. Every Saturday night in California, when I was there, I would be getting immediate feedback from at some point we had 60, 70 some folks sitting on the carpet, slanted carpet of our century-old church in Berkeley. And because I'm at a distance, and also because of COVID, isolation and that phenomenon of shelter in place, so we don't have that connection. However, what we do have, because of doing the lecture on Zoom, is we have a chance to bring in Chinese viewers community, 80-some folks every week, Vietnamese community, 30-some folks every week listening in a Vietnamese translation, and people worldwide listening to my English. So I just wanted to give a shout out, an acknowledgement to all of you who are listening in via Zoom, and I'm talking to a camera lens, and I'm talking to a computer display that you can see here, which is kind of awkward, but there it is. And the first thing that I would like to do as we begin the actual lecture is I'd like to say I want to show my respects and acknowledge the land from where I speak, to the Ugambe language group and the Kombumeri peoples whose elders have used their traditional wisdom here on the land, and I'd like to acknowledge the wisdom of the current elders and those also emerging. We are not the first humans here. We will not be the last humans here, and it is important and graceful to talk from a place of respect and a wish to open to that wisdom and to learn as well. So, our community of sutra listeners, students of the Flower Garland Sutra, people who admire the Bodhisattva path, that's what we're bringing. There's not enough attention paid to this quality of the human mind called the Bodhisattva's vows. And that's what we're about to dig into again. I'm going to hold this organic instrument here in my hands. This is very much a monk's banjo, handmade by Nara Damasan down in Victoria. As we listen to the vows of a bodhisattva. Are you ready? Can you all, those of you who can see the screen here, I'm going to put my palms together and read the Chinese, the original Bodhisattva's vow. Here you go. 又发大愿，愿一切国土入一国土，一国土入一切国土，无量佛土普皆清净，光明众具以为庄严，离一切烦恼，成就清净道，无量智慧众生充满其中，普入广大诸佛境界，随众生心而为示现，皆令欢喜。广大如虚空，广大如法界，究竟如虚空，尽未来际，一切结束，无有休息。That was the refrain. I don't know if people are starting to recognize it in Chinese. Here we go. They further make great vows, vowing that all countries will enter one country, and that one country will enter all countries. That limitless Buddha lands will everywhere be made pure, and multitudes of adornments made of radiant light will adorn them. That they will be free from all afflictions, that they will accomplish the way of purity, that limitless, wise, living beings will fill those worlds. They vow that those beings will all enter the Buddha's vast, great states, that they will appear in accordance with the minds of living beings, making them all happy. Vast and great is the Dharma realm, ultimate as empty space, to the ends of future time, throughout all numbers of eons without cease. And that's where we come in with our refrain. You ready? Remember how we do it? Do I remember how to do it? Here we go. Vast and great as the Dharma realm, ultimate as empty space, to the ends of future time, throughout all numbers of eons, without cease, without cease, without cease. summer sound. Okay, there it is. What is it? These vows are that when their cultivation is working, when they're on the path as bodhisattvas, when they are student Buddhas, Buddha students, student bodhisattvas, that they will be able to create worlds for us to live in. These worlds will mix and mingle. One will become many, many will become one, which is what? Is that Buddhist Avatamsaka language? Yes, it is, but it's absolutely tied to a human state of being where boundaries blend because they arise from the mind. All of this arises from the human mind where there are no fences once you wake up. That's the Avatamsaka is giving us instructions for what we're capable of when we get to this level of what? Purity and stillness. Yo qingjing, yo jijing, right? Both pure and quiet through samadhi, through meditation, through being a good person. All of that, be a good person, enter samadhi states, experience the stillness that manifests all these incredible things where one country can just replicate and replicate and replicate, and yet it all comes back to a single country. And what is that country like? Pure adornments made of light, meaning it's just splendid. I'm looking out at gum trees and beautiful green foliage that is moving in harmony outside the window of the Buddha hall here. If we could turn the camera, you could see what I'm seeing. These are the adornments of southeastern Queensland right here, made of light, free from afflictions. The countries that these bodhisattvas are making 1 to 10 and 10 to 1 and 10 to 10 and 10 like that. No afflictions, no troubles there, like a Pure Land, right? They will accomplish the way of purity. People there will live in a way that is in harmony, without conflict, without anyone being a baddie or a bully or lethal, right? Nobody's a killer there, right? Not. They don't do that. Limitless wise living beings fill up those lands. Can you imagine? I mean, it's so oxymoronic, is that a word? It's so counterintuitive that to suggest there's a world where people get along shouldn't be one of those things where everybody goes, hurts your heart when you see how far we have strayed from a world where everybody gets along. If limitless wise living beings filled up our world, we would do things, we would say things like, oh, you mean our lifestyle is killing other species of living creatures? Well, let's change. Let's get along so that everyone thrives, so that everyone flourishes. Just the suggestion of that makes you want to weep, right? Because we don't. We live in a way, an example. Currently, last week there was a circumstance in America where what's called a climate activist went into a pumping station for an oil pipeline and turned a valve and turned off the oil pipe. Why? Because the oil pipe was crossing a water source for thousands of human beings. And this oil pipe was famous for leaking. They always leak. They can't, the pipes have to travel going from Wisconsin to Michigan, hundreds and hundreds of miles. The pipe leaks. When the oil hits the water, people can't drink. Furthermore, all the other creatures living in the water suffer and die from the oil, which shouldn't be piped out. The oil is like the blood of the earth, and it should stay. One of the teachings of Native American wisdom says, oil is the earth's blood. Keep it in its body. Don't pump it out any more than you want to bleed out of your own body, right? So, makes sense that we shouldn't extract the blood of the earth and pipe it through the water, over the water where people need. What's the oil for? So rich people can get richer and be convenient as they use the oil to make plastics and further pollution. So for the good of the few, the many suffer? Not wise. So limitless wise living beings living in a country would say, bad idea. Let's find another way to do it. Well, we agree. The many voices are more important than the one voice that says, profit. That's what we would have in this Bodhisattva's land. And you just hear about it, you think, of course. Nope, sorry. The voice of the few drown out the voice of the many. Profit over people is unwise. Because why? Can't sustain it. The gain is short-term, the harm is long-term. Can't sustain the benefits of the few over the many. It will topple, and the suffering and affliction will grow, will increase and grow. Not wise. So here's, you think, that Avatamsaka Sutra, just idealistic, unrealistic. So suffering is better? Why don't we aspire to the wholesome view, to the harmless view? Why don't we aspire to the good view and work for that? Well, it's just no good answer, except that's the world we're in. When you get down to it, you say, well, we're in a world called the Saha world, where there is suffering and happiness mixed. But all we need to do is listen to the Flower Garland Sutra and understand that humanity also contains the seeds of wisdom and goodness and kindness right in the same place as we have that greed and conflict and affliction. But free will, and the Buddha celebrated free will, says choose for the harmless choice. Go for the wise and kind choice. May all become compassionate and wise. So anyway, that's why we open these texts and look at them, translate them, absorb them, and live into them. They vow, the Bodhisattvas, that beings who live there will enter the Buddha's vast great states, that they can appear as teachers, as friends, as advisors to these living beings, and make them happy. I like it. That's what I'd like to do on a Sunday. If I could go to church and hear these principles, I'd go to that church. If I had to choose a religion, yeah, makes sense. It's not that the good stuff comes by and by in the sky after we die. The goodness comes when people of good heart come together with their hands and their feet and their breath and their compassion, their consciousness, and make a better world. Make it that way. Doesn't happen through God's will, in this case. So, anyway, there you go. Vast and great is the Dharma realm. Ultimate is empty space. To the ends of future time, throughout all numbers of eons, without cease, without cease, without cease. The next one is very cool. The next one has got real power here. Are we ready? I drank some oolong tea from Taiwan. I'm ready. 又发大愿，愿与一切菩萨同一志行，无有怨嫉，集诸善根，一切菩萨平等一愿，常共集会，不相舍离，随意能现种种佛身，任其自心能知一切如来境界，唯利智慧，得不退如意神通， 游行一切世界，显庆一切众会，普入一切生处，成就不思议大圣，修菩萨行。好了，大家跟着一起，广大如法界，究竟如虚空，尽未来际，一切结束，无有休息。That's we need a tune for the Chinese refrain as well. You ready? Here comes the English. Listen to the music of the language. Listen to the sutra as literature. Here we go. They further make great vows, vowing to be identical with all bodhisattvas in resolve and practice, vowing that they will be free of resentment and jealousy, that they will gather wholesome qualities, and be equal in affinities with all bodhisattvas. They vow to always assemble together with them and never leave each other. They vow to make appear at will the various kinds of Buddha's bodies, and to keep in mind the knowledge of the thus come ones' states, their awesome powers, and their wisdom. They vow to realize irreversibility and to possess psychic powers as they please, to travel through any world and appear in any assembly. Further, they vow to be born anywhere and there to accomplish the inconceivable great vehicle and to cultivate practices of bodhisattvas. Ready? Vast and great as the Dharma realm, ultimate as empty space, to the ends of future time, throughout all numbers of eons, without cease. Ready? Vast and great as the Dharma realm, ultimate as empty space, to the ends of future time, throughout all numbers of eons, without cease, without cease, without cease. What is this one? This is very social. This is how bodhisattvas want to be as bodhisattvas. We heard about living beings last week. We just heard about the countries that they want to create. This is their ideal society. This is how a bodhisattva would build a world of other bodhisattvas if they could do it just the way they want it. What is it? They vow to, what is it? They say, 与一切菩萨同一志行, 同一志行, right? So they're going to be the same with other bodhisattvas in their resolve, their heart space, and also in their practice. So the way they think and then the way they act, they want to be the same. 同一, one kind, the same as they will be. Furthermore, when they come together, no resentment, no jealousy. How important is that? Just hold that one. Just hold that thought for a minute. What the Chinese says is 无有怨嫉. It means, for the sutra to register that, it means there are those things. There is 怨恨. There is 嫉妒, right? 嫉妒, 障碍. Those things exist, or the Buddha wouldn't point them out, saying that when the bodhisattvas make their perfect world, those things aren't there. In other words, the Buddha, how wise is the Buddha? And how real and grounded and real world is the Buddha? Practical. He's saying, yeah, bodhisattvas come together, you know what? There's jealousy and there's resentment. You got more shantong than I have. You have more psychic powers than I have. I like the way you speak Dharma. I always get stage fright. I'm jealous of you. Sadly, those things happen. You have so much musical talent, and I don't, and I'm jealous. I cook better than you cook. I got that. You can't touch me there. Oh, man. You live in a bigger house than I live in. You drive a better car than I do. Blah, 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 right? We do that. What is that called? It's an affliction. This is a primary affliction. This is a basic way that people go wrong. We go wrong when what do? We look sideways at each other instead of looking ahead at the Buddha, instead of looking within at our own minds. If we, instead of looking sideways and then judging and comparing, instead of doing that, if we would just look within and rid ourselves of the shadows and the darkness and the insecurities and the fears, how simple and how lovely life would be. And everyone's better qualities would shine forth instead of all the work, how much work it takes to be jealous. We have to look at someone else, we have to notice, we have to pay attention, come back with what we see, then somewhere inside compare it with our own whatever, checklist, this or that. We have to look at, the Chinese call it the chang duan, the longs and the shorts of ourselves. Then, based on that judgment and that comparison and that checklist, then we have to have an emotional reaction to it. Judging ourselves as inferior and judging them as superior, therefore stimulating my unhappiness. What a lot of work. We burn so many calories in getting jealous. So it's so important that the Buddha in the sutra says, our bodhisattvas, I'm going to create a perfect society of fellow bodhisattvas. Nobody's going to do that. It's so common, it's such a plague on people that the bodhisattva has to point it out, say, in my ideal world, none of that. Forget the jealousy part. We all随喜功德, joyfully support each other's merit and virtue. That is the antidote. The antidote is called随喜, joyful support. You have musical talent. I love listening to your music. It's so inspiring. It makes my day better. You can cook. We will be thrilled when it's your turn, your day in the kitchen, because everybody's happy with the flavors and the harmony and the health that we feel by eating your food. Oh, you have athletic skill. Look, we applaud. Watching you, it's so nice to watch you swing your racket, swing your club, make your jump shot, swim, cutting through the water. We're all lifted by your talent, by your skill. You, what are your qualities? You're not musical, not a good cook, not an athlete, but you're kind. Your kindness, the size of your heart, just makes us all better, because you're like the mother hen who spreads her wings and shelters all her chicks. I know it's spring/summer here in Australia without looking at the calendar. Why? Because the baby birds are now out of the eggs and alive in the nests. I have a couple currawongs that live just around the corner from my cabin, and these currawongs are large black birds with big crow-like beaks and shiny yellow eyes, and I live in their neighborhood, and I've been watching this process happen for 10 years now. But this season's parents, one of them was last season's baby, and he hasn't lost his baby. When it's time for him to be hungry, he goes, and he lands on the railing, and I'm inside typing at my computer, and I hear, and I look up, and there he is, and he's running back and forth on the railing, looking at me, just looking inside, and hoping that I will come out and give him a cracker or an apple slice. Ideally, I give him kookaburra food, which is mock meat. That's his favorite. But what is he doing why is he skipping back and forth on the railing like that? It's because he's got babies to feed. He's not eating what I give him. He swallows it down, but then regurgitates it back up, because currawong chicks in the nest are as big as their parents very soon. They are huge babies in the nest, and they go rock, rock, and the parents have to feed them. This currawong new parent, used to be just this free and easy bird, used to be a happy single bird. Now he's a provider for the well-being of these babies. It's endless. And I told him today, he doesn't know because he's a new parent. I said, you were a baby. You are going to be run ragged by your children. I sympathize with you, and I will support you as I can, but understand this is how it is. You have my sympathy. I said, 你辛苦了. I said, it's going to be tough for you. And he's like, more, please. I got to feed them. They're like driving me nuts in there. Yeah, and you see the virtues of someone who's, are they beautiful? They're not beautiful. They have a nice song. Currawong's song is really beautiful. I can't do it, but I have the sound in my ear. But they are good parents. They will run themselves ragged trying to feed the babies. Oh, it's tough. It's really hard when it's chick raising time, because those little bottomless engines of sound, the babies in the nest, relentless. So everybody has qualities that we should随喜, we should support. We shouldn't judge, do that back and forth, comparison, and then emotion that is jealousy. I know of whereof I speak, because I didn't think it was possible to be jealous. But then another monk, had Master Hua's ear, and Shifu was busy kicking me out of the nest. Interesting comparison there. And as a result, I never got a chance to talk to the abbot, but this other monk did, and I felt jealous, because I wanted advice and guidance and help from my teacher, but the other monk had it all, and Master Hua was not talking to me. This went on for 6 months. I was in the process of being made independent, and watching the other monk laugh on the telephone, and I wasn't able to get any of that guidance. I felt it rise, and it tastes green. Jealousy tastes copper, like the metal, copper, tong, right? And it's a green experience. I don't know if anybody's experienced the greenness of jealousy, but it's in the back of the throat, and it's that kind of coppery flavor. Ooh. Green with jealousy, green with envy, that's real. That's a real state. And I couldn't believe that this was coming out of my mind, but there it was. And the only antidote that I know that works is Samantabhadra's vow number 5, where he says, 随喜功德. So joyfully support others. Finally, I just had to say, this is the other monk's blessing, that he gets taught, and I'm having to come up with it myself. I've got to come up with my own stuff, my own support him, and And as soon as I had that thought, the phone rang, and it was for me. Once I had that thought of I got to do it on my own, the next day I got a call from Master Hua. So, 随喜功德. So, the sutra says, free of resentment and jealousy. That's that's the society of bodhisattvas that we want to make. Furthermore, we all gather our good roots, our wholesome qualities. We are, how does it go in Chinese? It says, 一切菩萨平等一元. Interesting. We will be united in our connection. Yuan is affinities, meaning our ties. Our ties with other bodhisattvas will be a single kind, just one. Like a family. We will be one family. And furthermore, how clear could it be? It says, 常共集会不相舍离. What does it say? The Bodhisattva vows that we will always gather together and never leave each other. Now, how about that? I mean, here we are. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us here in the Buddha Hall at the Gold Coast. There are 200 some, the rest of us are scattered around the world. And think of all the things that we could be doing with our Sunday afternoon, our Saturday night, but instead we're listening to the Flower Garland Sutra. We're listening to the Avatamsaka Sutra. We could be doing lots of other things, but instead we are poking around inside this 2,000-year-old book in the 4th version of its language. The Buddha spoke it. It was written down in some sort of Prakrit Pali language, translated into Sanskrit, translated into Chinese, translated into English, and on into Vietnamese and Chinese, back into Chinese, right? So that's what we're doing. How interesting. Could it be because at some point in our long procession of lifetimes, we made vows to always assemble together and never leave each other? Maybe so. Interesting theory, huh? Furthermore, look at how this vow opens up. They want to appear in Buddha's bodies at different times and keep in mind the Tathagata states. Remember their samadhi, remember their kindness, remember their eloquence, their awesome powers, and their wisdom. Then the next one, they want to have shantong, psychic powers, to realize irreversibility and to get psychic powers as they please, to travel through the world and appear in any assembly. What is this? These are the phenomena that happen to the Bodhisattva after, this is on the near graduation phase of their education. They're already at the 7th and 8th stage that they will be able to have these abilities. From their own body and mind, they'll be able to know people's thoughts, ta xin tong. They'll be able to see into other worlds, tian yan tong. They'll be able to hear others' sounds and voices, the tai, I think a tian er tong. They'll be able to understand all past lives, su ming tong. They will have the shanzu tong, this incredible ability to transform their bodies, called the complete spirit. And further, they'll be able to end all outflows, lo jin tong. Those kind of psychic powers will be theirs to command right from their own, sitting in full lotus, in front of the TV, in front of the computer, sitting at the breakfast table, wherever they are. Traveling in a car, they'll have these abilities, just boom, as they want, to help teach, to help rescue people from suffering. That's what comes at the other end of their bodhisattva path, right? That they will travel through the world and appear anywhere they want. That one, incredible, right? Furthermore, they say they will be born wherever they can be. They will accomplish the inconceivable great vehicle and cultivate the practices of bodhisattvas. Remember, this vow is about bodhisattva community. So, the great vehicle. Interesting. I've been immersing myself recently in conversations with monks from the Theravada tradition, monks from the Pali school, the Pali-based school of Buddhism. So not monks who know about the Avatamsaka Sutra, who even know about the eighth consciousness and that whole formulation of how people are, the deeper states of mind. I've been talking to monks, and mostly monks, but some nuns who are very much invested in ending suffering for themselves and for others. Okay, you know, it's a different school, different school. But when it comes around time for me to talk about the Chinese Mahayana Hanchuan Fojiao, what's different about it is our sutra today. This is different about it. Our Bodhisattva in this vow right now is saying, I want to keep the Mahayana alive. What he's talking about are these Bodhisattva practices and the vows, the zhi yuan and the zhi xing, that was the first one, the vow and the practices of a Bodhisattva. That's what's different. It's a way of looking at our potential as humans and what we're about that is different. To put it in ordinary language, what's really different is Bodhisattvas have different relationships with society. It's the relationships. So a Bodhisattva would say, I don't eat meat. I want other beings who I find myself on the planet with to live their full lives and not turn into my food. There's one, right? That's a great vehicle vision, that all beings who incarnate have a right to live out their lives without my killing them or putting their flesh inside my body, because I can nourish my body perfectly well without that. I want to thrive, and I want all others to thrive together. That's a Mahayana thought. And they would, as a result of that, try hard to foster well-being for others. Watching the Currawongs run themselves ragged to raise their children, I recognize that. Good. There's this two-legged bird, and he's hopping on my railing and going, "Erk, erk, please, erk." Because when he goes back to his nest, it's awful back there. I don't know how many, we haven't been able to see how many eggs there are, but there's probably 2. I've seen 3 before. And these babies, I know what it's like, because later on, as these babies get bigger, the Currawongs show up on my rail and they're sleepy. It's because there's been no room for them in their nest. The babies fill it. They have to sleep on a branch, and they're sleeping like this. It's tough being a Currawong parent, because the babies are so big and demanding and incessant. Feed me. And then at some certain point, they learn to fly, and they become the next generation of parents. And you go, man, this is amazing, amazing to watch how the dynamic of between generations works, no matter whether they're feather-covered Currawong birds or humans. Humans, the parental wish to protect the young is the same. It's an eye-opener. You see the relationships here. And those are living beings. The Bodhisattva says, I don't want to eat them. Let them live. That's so primary. As a result, I have to say, when the Currawong lands on my railing, he is not afraid of me. He is trying everything he can to convince me to go back inside and come out with a cracker, or ideally with an Impossible Burger, because that's his favorite. That's once the Impossible Burgers come out, because it's kookaburras are there, the Kurwangs are like, me too, I want some of that. My kids love that, so do I, but I'll give it to them, I won't eat it. And you go, oh, the sign of a compassionate parent, kindness of parents. So he's not afraid of me. He is hoping I will feed him so he can feed. That relationship, they're in his eyes, you can see the eyes. They are not, he is only hoping to manipulate me into giving to him. He's playing on my sympathy. It's just if you have a dog, you know what that is. Mealtime for the dogs. It's like, oh, feed me. I haven't eaten since yesterday. I'm hungry. You're going to die of starvation. The dogs go into drama queen mode, right? Well, this Kurwang is drama queen. I got to feed him. It's so sad. And to have the bird recognize me as a person who can help him and not hurt him, that's priceless. Our relationship is advanced. You know, he's putting a move on me, so I will give him what he needs to solve his problems. Yeah, I'll do that. I can help him suffer less, but the suffering of being a parent is real, and I see it in the bird. So the Mahayana says, yes, yeah, all living beings, 众生无边是, living beings are suffering and they're infinite. I'm going to take them across as I can. So Cliff brings the bag and Sam brings the bag of bird food and the Impossible Burgers, and I look at which bird is there and feed them whatever they can eat. My goodness. Yeah, so that's the Mahayana. And I find that kind of teaching ennobling. It gives humans something to do that is noble. Now, there are, mind you, from the other side, there are people who say, don't feed the animals. Let them work it out. I understand that. However, developing the relationship, I also, as I feed these birds, every time I do, what do I say? Namo Ami Tofo. I'm using another principle of the Buddha Dharma, which is letting the sound of the Buddha's name and the vows of the Bodhisattva resonate in the mind of these creatures. So I confess that I'm also crossing them over. I'm feeding their bodies and reducing their suffering, but I'm also feeding their minds. How does it work? One more. Ready? 又发大愿，愿成不退论，行菩萨行，身语意业，悉不唐捐。若战见者，自必定佛法。暂闻音声，自得实智慧。财生净信，自永断烦恼。得入大药王树身，得入如意宝身，修行一切菩萨行，广大如法界，究竟如虚空，尽未来际，一切界数，无有休息。They further make great vows, vowing to ride the non-retreating wheel and to cultivate the Bodhisattva practices. They vow that their behavior and body, speech, and mind will never be in vain. They vow that anyone who even briefly sees them will then settle in the Buddha's Dharma, that anyone who briefly hears the sound of their voices will obtain genuine wisdom. They vow that anyone who has experienced pure faith will transform their afflictions forever. They vow to obtain a body like the great king of medicinal trees, and a body like the wish-fulfilling jewel, and to cultivate all Bodhisattva's practices. Vast and great is the Dharma realm, ultimate as empty space, to the ends of future time, throughout all numbers of eons, without cease, without cease, without cease. Look at this vow. Look at the, I mean, is it manipulative? Sorta, yeah. But it's certainly the initial motive is wholesome. What do they say? I'm going to cultivate Bodhisattva's practices so that everything I do with my body, mouth, and mind will work, will not be lost, and anybody who sees me briefly will find their way to the Buddha's teaching. Anybody who hears my voice, even briefly, will get genuine wisdom. Anybody who has pure faith will leave their troubles behind forever. I'm going to get a body like the great king of medicine trees. How about that? Trees being the source, nature's source of medicine. They say there'll be a tree that will produce all this incredible healing, flowers, fruit, leaves, branches, roots, sap. That's the medicine tree. And a body like a wish-fulfilling jewel, the Rui jewel. That's a Dharma that we talked about earlier. And I will cultivate Bodhisattva's practices, vast and great is the Dharma realm. So how about that? Look at that. That's so interesting that the Bodhisattvas are saying, I'm going to charge my very presence with so much positive energy that if you see me, if you hear my voice, you too will find your way to the wisdom that takes us out of suffering. That's the vow. I like it. Where have we heard that before? We have heard that before. Master Xuanhua's 18 Great Vows. This is the title here. The 18 Great Vows of Venerable Master Xuanhua. Shifu's vow, look at number 14. I vow that any living beings who sees my face or hears my name will fix their thoughts on Bodhi and quickly accomplish the Buddha's way. 中文我有. Okay, 第18大愿. 宣公上人第18大愿. Let's see, 18大愿, 第14. Here it is. 愿一切众生见我面乃至闻我名，悉发菩提心，速得成佛道. Right? So, how amazing. Here is Shifu's vows responding, mirroring the Avatamsaka Sutra. I think that's not an accident, certainly. But here's the idea that the Bodhisattva says, I am going to become a walking, living, breathing advertisement for the Dharma. Not only an advertisement, I'm going to be an active agent for the Dharma. So all it takes is for your senses, my wholesome yang energy, like yin-yang, my yang energy, my goodness is going to be so positive that all you have to do is look at me or hear my voice. And Shifu added my name. And your thoughts will turn to perfection of your humanity. I'm going to go right to that place inside your mind where your best goodness is kept, and it's going to trigger it so that you want to become the best possible person simply by seeing or hearing me. Amazing. I mean, that's, how good is that? So, as I was saying, when I feed, crackers or apples to the birds, or birdseed, I feed lorikeet cereal to the lorikeets, the currawong eats it. I feed birdseed to the cockatoos, and the currawong doesn't eat the birdseed very much. I feed apples to the lorikeets, and the currawong grabs them. I feed mock meat to the kookaburras, and the currawong grabs it. Currawong is an omnivore. But every time I do it, no matter whether it's birdseed or crackers or apples or make mock meat, I say Namo Amitofo to the birds, hoping that the sound of the Buddha's name will awaken something in whoever's consciousness is currently in a bird's body. Because that's a living being currently wearing feathers. And who's to say that at some point there's a principle in our Mahayana that says the names of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas activate that goodness in our hearts, and it will emerge as someone who's interested in the Dharma in a future life. Who knows? Who knows? The shadow do. Yeah. All right. So we're almost done. I think we've got one. Yes, we have one more vow next week to finish off our 10 vows. On the first stage, stage of happiness, the Bodhisattva's foundation for all future accomplishment here. And pretty powerful. Then there's a summary of the 10 vows coming up next. And what follows the summary, there's a preview of what's coming up next week. What follows the summary are these statements of non-cessation, statements of not stopping, kind of like statements about what do they say? It's the infinity, statements of infinity. There are 10 things that the Bodhisattva says in order to keep his vows going. So it's, if this were to end, my vows will end. This can't end, so my vows never end either. If this could end, my vows would end. This doesn't end, my vows never. Like that, 10 of them. And that comes up next week. So vast and great is the Dharma realm, ultimately space. So it's really quite wonderful how this how the sutra continues next week. Don't miss it. Make sure you're here for that. Let's see here. I've got we are just finishing. We have just finished here in the Gold Coast our Guanyin Bodhisattva recitation week, and see here. We have, I had a request from the monks at Berkeley to record, let's see, is Kevin, are you in full lotus? Can you stand up? I need a yellow book from the, I'm trying to find Guanyin praise is what I'm looking for. And it's composed by Upasaka David Rounds, the late composer. I turned right to it, look at that. Probably because people have been turning to it all week. Yeah, so it opened right to it, yeah. So there's a wonderful English language Guanyin praise that we don't sing enough at CTTB because everybody is used to the Chinese. And I wanted to, if anybody has it, pay $173. Anybody got your yellow book handy out there in Zoom land? It's a little on the high pitch from my voice, but I think I'll try one more time, making sure, because I'd like to show it to everybody too. See, it might be called Guanyin Praise. That might be it. Guanyin Praise, is it there? Highway Dharma Letters. Nope, don't see it. Well, you're all going to have to just, so it goes like this. Bodhisattva, Guan Shi Yin, is wonderful past gratitude. Clear and pure are her adornments, gained through practice ages long. Sea vast, a red lotus flower, fragrant, rests beneath her foot. Bay curve of an autumn moon is in the crescent of her brows. Everywhere and constantly sweet dew sprinkles from her base. In her hand the willow branch through the countless autumns. Prayers depart 1,000 hearts. In 1,000 hearts she answers, sailing the sea of suffering, crossing people over. Namo, greatly kind and compassionate Bodhisattva of the crystal land, who dwells on Potola Mountain and observes the sounds of all the worlds. That's how it goes.
Bodhisattva, Quan Shi Yin is wonderful past gratitude. Pure and clear are her adornments, gained through practice ages long. See vasta red lotus flower, fragrant rest beneath her foot. They curve of an autumn moon in the crescent of her brows. Everywhere and constantly sweet dew sprinkles from her base. In her hand a willow branch through the countless autumns. Prayers depart 1,000 hearts. In 1,000 hearts she answers, sailing the sea of suffering, crossing people over. Namo, greatly kind and compassionate Bodhisattva of the crystal land, who dwells on Potola Mountain and observes the sounds of the world. Shouldn't try to sing a song that's too high for my voice, but you get to hear it. Then it goes. So that's the English Guanyin praise. Let me see. Since I have a choice, this banjo is tuned down. Let's see if I should have. So that's the Guanyin song
in English that is in our yellow ceremony handbook, and we should first of all pick the right pitch, but then sing it more. It's really a good one, and it's got that spirit. When it's done with the right amount of devotion, there's a poignant quality through the countless autumns. Guanyin Bodhisattva's compassion with a willow branch and a vase of sweet dew and her foot on a red lotus. It's quite a wonderful song. The Chinese is everybody's favorite because it's been in the air, it's been in people's ears for so many thousands of years. But the English one is here to stay. That's a really good praise, and we should put it in the air more often. All right. I wanted to, let's see, I promised everybody us a Bishop Swing story, and we've got, I guess what we'll do the way we used to do it, which was finish the sutra, transfer the merit, and then stick around for extra story for dessert. So maybe we'll do it that way. And with that in mind, I'm going to pop open the Berkeley Monastery website and ask Chin Chuan or Chin Chuan, sure, what's happening at Berkeley Monastery. Hi there. Got any news for us?
Yeah, I can actually say we were planning on being at Roto Vihara today, but we were working there, and the sheriff came by and said there's an actually evacuation warning because of the heavy rains coming, and they're concerned about debris flow. So
concerned about the what?
Debris flow. I think that's called landslides.
Debris. The flow of the debris. Yeah. I was thinking the reflow. What is a reflow? Is that like a reflow? So debris flow.
Debris flow.
So the sheriff came and said evacuate because with the heavy rain, the roads will be, you might not be able to get out. Is that right?
I think they're concerned that actually it'll be dangerous for you to stay because maybe the land might come and, remove a house or something.
Especially with the fires last year.
Yeah.
So the fires burned out the underbrush and the tree roots that ordinarily would have held the debris back. Wow, exactly. That's amazing, huh? Did he give you more details? Did he say any more?
They just said a geologist, did some analysis and said your area is considered, dangerous. So the police, evacuate. And said right now it's evacuation warning, but starting tomorrow 8 a.m. it's mandatory evacuation.
Wow.
The storms are coming in at 8, and the winds, she said, starts. And actually, the sheriff was two female sheriffs.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And 5 a.m. that would be heavy winds. So we thought we might as well just come back tonight, back to Berkeley, so that we don't get caught in anything tomorrow. So so we came back to Berkeley, and we're you were down in, people don't know you were down in Santa Cruz in the Redwoods.
Exactly. In Boulder Creek. So
Boulder Creek.
Yeah.
Redwood Vihara.
Yeah, Redwood Vihara. That's quite amazing.
But in terms of our programs for the upcoming week, it's pretty much the same. I think Dharma, you were mentioning about Guanyin praise. So there's the CTTB is having its Dharma session with Guanyin session online starting, I think, tomorrow morning. And you can find that at drba.org, the link.
Okay, we'll do that right now.
Okay.
So I'm suggesting that people go out to drba.org, and when you get there, look for news and events. Fall Guanyin session right there. Y'all see that in the first line there? Click on that, and it takes you out to where you can join a Zoom meeting with a Guanyin session on the other side. Here's the schedule and stuff. Yeah, great. There it is.
And then for Berkeley, we have our same schedule, starting with morning chanting, the meditation, and more people have been joining the Dharma reflection. So people would like to follow us in our retreat at 7:15 in the morning for 15 minutes. You can start your day with a little bit of Dharma and hear what's going on in our retreat. It's 7:30. We have 3 steps, 1 bow. And we'll be doing that until this Thursday. And we're going to take a little bit of a break starting Friday because we're going to be going up to Snow Mountain Monastery. And their internet there is not as regular. So we'll have to see what happens. So from starting this Friday to the following Sunday, our online programs will be kind of temporarily halted, except for the afternoon recitation with Dharma Master Jingfo at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, you need to somehow put up a big notice on drba.org or Berkeley Monastery so that people know it's planned, it's not an accident.
Okay, sounds good.
Alrighty.
Yep, that's our plan.
Great. Okay, well, I'm glad you made it out. Once the other reality about the roads in Boulder Creek is that everybody depends on Highway 9 to get in and out from Santa Cruz to Saratoga. And once those roads are blocked, they're blocked for weeks. So, and if heavy rain is coming, okay. Well, we'll keep our eyes on the news from Santa Cruz County.
Yeah. At the same time, the rains is definitely needed.
Rains are needed.
And years of drought, so the forest is thirsty for sure.
All right. Okay, well, thank you for that. Story I wanted to tell. People, I don't know if people know Bishop William Swing. He is I have a photo of him, the founder of United Religions Initiative, and he was being celebrated yesterday at the 21-day Compassion Pod from Service Space. And let's see here. There we go. And I was invited to contribute where's my cursor? I was invited to contribute a story, and let's see, my cursor has gone away now, so I'll just let that be. Here we are. Okay. So the story I told was about the Parliament of World Religions in 1999, Cape Town, South Africa. This was Parliament number 3 in history. And we were meeting at a place called Cape Technicon, which was an old, unused university campus. A week before the Parliament took place, there was a bomb that went off in Cape Town in a restaurant by the seaside. And it was a protest bomb from religious extremists who didn't want the Parliament to happen. So that was alarming and unnerving that this was, there was that kind of anti-religious harmony, anti-interfaith sentiment there. So the plan was the first day of the Parliament was for a long parade through the streets of Cape Town, leading up to Cape Technicon. Everybody was saying, boy, you're just asking for trouble by putting everybody out on the public street. But the Parliament went ahead and did it, and there was a long parade of all the different religious groups. Everybody was encouraged to dress up in their best robes and hats. And so we did that, and I was walking along, and sure enough, on both sides of the street, there were picketers with angry picket signs written in languages I didn't read, scripts, and clearly they were protest. And there were shouts and curses being hurled at the marchers as we came. Not everyone. There was also lots of cheering people, but the negativity was really strong and noticeable. So I started out at the end of the parade, and as the parade went along, I fell further and further back. And so I was bringing up the rear, and I looked to my left, and there was Bishop Swing, who was also a delegate from United Religions to the Parliament of World Religions, this other brother major interfaith gathering, biggest one in the world, 1999, Cape Town. So I'm walking along at Bishop's Swing, and I notice that on both sides of the street there are picketers who are, because there are fewer of us at the end, they are picking out certain walkers, certain members of the parade to hassle and getting right in the face of people who are walking along and shouting their anger and their threats. Interfaith is not universally popular. So I'm thinking, oh man, what am I going to do? I've got this Bao Bei, you know, the founder of URI here, and I'm his junior. I need to protect him. What do I do to protect my charge here? I'm a non-violent monk. I can't, you know, pull out martial arts or anything to protect him, but I've got to step in front of him if there's actual danger coming his way. And so I had these thoughts, and as we come along, two women separated themselves from the other protesters to picked us out. So we're almost at our destination. The parade is almost ending, but we're at the end. And so these two women are coming, and they're in what's called chador. They're wearing black, covering most of their bodies. And they were holding these angry picket signs. And one of them is coming along. She's actually frothing. She's spitting. The other's kind of a little more restrained, but they're, you know. And I'm thinking, oh no, what am I going to do now? Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. Bishop Swing steps forward and goes right up to these two women and says, hello, my name is Bill Swing. I'm from San Francisco, California, in the United States, and I'm so happy to be with you here in South Africa. Thank you so much for hosting us in our religious gathering. It's nice to meet you. And the second woman, she dropped her sign and giggled. She just laughed. She's like, she got shy, and her sign went behind her back. The other one realized she was losing face. She was, you know, not being true to her cause, and she steps up and Bill Swing says, thank you very much for hosting us. We hope our conference will go well, and it's nice to meet you. I'm a Christian from America. And the woman, she just lost all her fire, and she did a half bow in respect. And I was standing there watching this interaction, and what I was reading was that these two protesters were not used to being listened to. I'm sure they were pretty much ignored, maybe because they were women in their faith, maybe because they were extremists and the mainstream of their faith were not into hassling peaceful processions, right? And what they were doing was not righteous, it was extreme and angry. But all of that combination went through these two women. And they didn't have any English, and we didn't have any, whatever it was, Urdu, or I'm not sure what language they were, or Arabic, or whatever it was. But they melted. And Bishop Swing and I proceeded and walked through the gates of the university, and he turned to me and he said, that's what I call grassroots interfaith, he said. So what an example. He wasn't moved, he wasn't frightened, he wasn't disturbed by enmity coming his way, negativity coming his way. In fact, simply by being kind from the core and genuinely kind, it wasn't opposed, he neutralized all that negative energy and crossed over the angry protesters. The other time I had seen that happen was our own teacher, Master Shren Hua, in that account that people have heard about him likewise welcoming protesters and turning them into participants in our interfaith gathering. So there was Bishop Swing face to face with a situation that could have exploded into something very different. I don't know what I would have done. I was afraid for him needlessly, because his courage and his true compassion, defused the situation and turned it around. So, there we go. We need one more event in today's program, which is our own transference of merit. We are transferring to neutralize the negative health energies, the sickness, the pandemic, which people more and more are saying is going to become endemic. It's going to be with us forever. That's, some voices are saying that. So the Buddhists have to put their hearts together, along with everyone, for medicine Buddha's vows to come real through this mantra. Ready? Let's transfer merit. See you all next week. Here are Buddhas, and I'm going to bow 3 times. I invite you to join me should you care to. First bow. Second bow. And we also have a picture of our teacher. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Thank you all for joining, everyone. See you all next week. Aum Tofo. Bye-bye.